The Jimmy Olsen Radio Network.
Spinal adjustments provided by Dr. Chad Rolfson. The Spinal Tuning Chiropractic Center is a Des Moines area low flat fee per month unlimited chiropractic care practice. When life happens, just adjust. Schedule today at spinaltuning.com. It's story time. The Adventures of Aladdin. Once upon a time, a widow had a son whose name was Aladdin. They were very poor and lived from hand to mouth, though Aladdin did what he could to earn some pennies by picking bananas in faraway places. One day, as he was looking for wild figs in a grove some way from town, Aladdin met a mysterious stranger. This smartly dressed, dark-eyed man was with a trim black beard and a splendid sapphire in his turban. Asked Aladdin an unusual question. "Come here, boy," he ordered. "How would you like to earn a silver penny?" "A silver penny?" exclaimed Aladdin. "Sir, I'd do anything for that kind of payment." "I'm not going to ask you to do much. Just go down that manhole. I'm much too big to squeeze through myself. If you do as I ask, you'll have your reward." The stranger helped Aladdin lift the manhole cover, for it was very heavy. Slim and agile as he was, the boy easily went down. His feet touched stone, and he carefully made his way down some steps and found himself in a large chamber. It seemed to sparkle, though dimly lit by the flickering light of an old oil lamp. When Aladdin's eyes became used to the gloom, he saw a wonderful sight. Trees dripping with glittering jewels, pots of gold, and caskets full of priceless gems. Thousands of precious objects lay scattered about. It was a treasure trove. Unable to believe his eyes, Aladdin was standing dazed when he heard a shout behind him. "The lamp! Put out the flame! Bring me the lamp!" Surprised and suspicious, for why should the stranger, out of all such a treasure, want only an old lamp? Aladdin wondered. Perhaps he was a wizard. He decided to be on his guard. Picking up the lamp, he retraced his steps up to the entrance. "Give me the lamp," urged the wizard immediately. "Hand it over." He began to shout, threshing out his arms to grab it, but Aladdin cautiously drew back. "Let me out first." "Too bad for you," snapped the stranger, slamming down the manhole cover, never noticing that as he did so, a ring slid off his finger. Terrified Aladdin was left in pitch darkness, wondering what the wizard would do next. Then he trod on the ring. Aimlessly putting it on his finger, he twisted it round and round. Suddenly the room was flooded with a rosary light, and a great genie with clasped hands appeared on a cloud. "At your command, sire," said the genie. Now stunned, Aladdin could only stammer, "I want to go home." In a flash, he was back in his own home, through the door, tightly shut. "How did you get in?" called his mother from the kitchen stove, the minute she set her eyes on him. Excitedly, her son told her of his adventures. "Where's the silver coin?" his mother asked. Aladdin clapped a hand to his brow, for all he had brought home was the old oil lamp. "Oh, mother, I'm sorry. This is all I've got." "Well, let's hope it works. It's so dirty." And the widow began to rub the lamp. Suddenly, one shot another genie in a cloud of smoke. "You've set me free after centuries. I was a prisoner in the lamp, waiting to be freed by someone rubbing it. Now, I'm your obedient servant. Tell me your wishes, and the genie bowed respectfully. Awaiting Aladdin's orders, the boy and his mother gaped wordlessly at this incredible apparition. Then the genie said, with a hint of impatience in his voice, "I'm here at your command. Tell me what you want. Anything you like." Aladdin gulped and said, Bring. His mother, not having yet begun to cook dinner, went on to say, "A lovely big meal." From that day on, the widow and her son had everything they could wish for: food, clothes, a fine home. For the genie of the lamp granted them everything they'd asked him. Aladdin grew into a tall, handsome young man, and his mother felt that he ought to find himself a wife sooner or later. Well, one day, as he left the market, Aladdin happened to see the Sultan's daughter, Halima, in her sedan chair, being carried through the streets. He only caught a fleeting glimpse of the princess, but it was enough for him to want to marry her. Aladdin told his mother, and she quickly said, "I'll ask the Sultan's daughter for his daughter's hand. He'll never be able to refuse. Wait and see." And indeed, the Sultan was easily persuaded by a casket full of big diamonds to admit the widow to the palace. However, when he learned why she'd come, he told the widow that her son must bring proof of his power and riches. This was mostly the Chamberlain's idea, for he himself was eager to marry the beautiful black-eyed Sultan's daughter. "If Aladdin wants to marry Halima," said the Sultan, "he must send me 40 slaves tomorrow. Every slave must bring a box of precious stones, and 40 Arab warriors must escort the treasure." Aladdin's mother went home, sadly home. The genie of the magic lamp had already worked wonders, but nothing like this. Aladdin, however, when he heard the news, was not at all dismayed. He picked up the lamp, rubbed it harder, and then harder than ever, and told the genie what he required. The genie simply clapped his hands 3 times. 40 slaves magically appeared, carrying the gemstones, together with their escort of 40 Arab warriors. When he saw all this the next day, the Sultan was taken back. He never imagined such wealth could exist. Just as he was about to accept Aladdin to his daughter's bridegroom, the envious Chamberlain broke into a question. "Where will they live?" he asked. The Sultan pondered for a moment. Then, allowing greed to get the better of him, he told Aladdin to build a great, splendid palace for Halima. Aladdin went straight home. And in what was once a wilderness, the genie built him a palace. The last obstacle had been overcome. The wedding took place with great celebration, and the Sultan was especially happy at finding such a rich and powerful son-in-law. News of Aladdin's sudden fortune and wealth spread like wildfire until one day a strange merchant stopped beneath the palace window. Old lamps for new. He called the princess, standing on the balcony. Now Aladdin had always kept his secret to himself. Only his mother knew it, and she never told a soul. Halima, alas, had been kept in the dark, and so now, wanting to give Aladdin a surprise as well as make a good bargain, she fetched the old oil lamp she had seen Aladdin tuck away and gave it to the merchant in exchange for a new one. The merchant quickly began to rub it, and the genie was now at the service of the wizard who had got his magic lamp back. In a second, he whisked away all Aladdin's possessions and magically sent the palace and the princess to an unknown land. Aladdin and the Sultan were at their wits' end. Nobody knew what had happened. Only Aladdin knew it had something to do with the magic lamp. But as he wept over the lost genie of the lamp, he remembered the genie of the ring from the wizard's finger. Slipping the ring around his finger, Aladdin twisted it round and round. "Take me to the place where the wizard has hidden my wife," he ordered the genie. In a flash, he found himself inside his own palace, and peeping from behind a curtain, he saw the wizard and the princess, now his servant. "Psst, psst," hissed Aladdin. "Aladdin, it's you? Shh. Don't let him hear you. Take this powder and put it in his tea. Trust me." The powder quickly took effect, and the wizard fell into a deep sleep. Aladdin hunted for the lamp high and low, but it was nowhere to be seen. But it had to be there. How otherwise had the wizard moved the palace? As Aladdin gazed at the sleeping enemy, he thought of peering underneath the pillow. "The lamp, at last," sighed Aladdin, hastily rubbing it. "Welcome back, master," exclaimed the genie. "Why did you leave me at another service for so long?" "Welcome," replied Aladdin. "I'm glad to see you again. I certainly missed you. It's just, well, I have you by me again." "At your command," smiled the genie. "First, put this wicked wizard in chains and take him far away where he'll never be found again." The genie grinned with pleasure, nodded his head, and the wizard vanished. Halima clutched Aladdin in fear. "What's going on? Who is that genie?" "Don't worry, everything's all right," Aladdin reassured her, as he told his wife the whole story of how he had met the wizard and found the magic lamp that he had enabled him to marry her. Everything went back to normal, and the happy pair hugged each other tenderly. "Can we return to our kingdom?" the princess asked timidly, thinking of her father so far away. Aladdin glanced at her with a smile. "The magic that brought you here will take you back, but with me at your side forever." The Sultan was almost ill with worry. His daughter had disappeared along with the palace, and then his son-in-law had vanished too. Nobody knew where they were. Not even the wise men hastily called to the palace to divine what happened. The jealous chamberlain kept on repeating, "I told you, Aladdin's fortune could not last." Everyone had lost hope of ever seeing the missing pair again, when, far away, Aladdin rubbed the magic lamp and said to the genie, "Take my wife, myself, and the palace back to our land as fast as you can." "In a flash, sire," replied the genie. At the snap of his finger, the palace rose in the air and sped over the Sultan's kingdom. Above the heads of his astonished subjects, it gently floated down to earth and landed on its old site. Aladdin and Halima rushed to embrace the Sultan. To this very day, in that distant country, you can still admire the traces of an ancient palace, which folk call the place that came from the skies. The Adventures of Aladdin. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, share it with others on social media. You can follow me on social media, both Facebook and Twitter at My Buddy Jimmy, and on YouTube at My Buddy Jimmy 101. Thank you for listening to Storytime.
The Jimmy Olsen Radio Network.